Hello, my name is Michael Haft. I'm the founder and CEO of Compass Coffee.
And I'm Chaz. And I'm Chaz. I'm our COO, which basically means I do all the coffee stuff. And I thought it'd be fun today if we sat down and talked about Holiday Blend, because it's my favorite seasonal blend of the year, and it's one that you created.
So Holiday Blend has a funny, chaotic story, and the origins go all the way back to our first year, 2014. This is actually our 11th Holiday Blend when you go through, surprising, our 10th year, 11th blend. But it's come a long way over the years from, this is the first design. I grabbed a couple other failed designs to take a look at.
The
white tin was terrible.
Yeah,
the green
it was
tin,
like Obama's tan suit. It was a really
bad.
Dramatic.
We've tried all these different tins, but this year it's almost like we didn't try. We didn't even write any copy, so that was a train wreck.
What was the year that we put the year on the tin?
We did that for many years. That was also a huge mistake.
Yeah, as the coffee guy who then had to forecast the exact number of tins that we were going to sell.
Not great. Put you in a tight
difficult
spot there.
Very difficult.
But this year is very exciting. I think you completely nailed it. The team did a fantastic job. And let's talk about what it took to get here. So you started back in July.
Yep. We got to leave lots of time for trial and error. So speaking of trial and error, we always start very early the seasonal blending process because we want to leave enough time for a lot of error along the way to something great. And so we started this year in July because we needed all that time to end up with where we got, which is something that we're really proud of. We think our customers are really going to enjoy. So we wanted a holiday blend this year to taste bold, be cheerful, and still have notes of spice. That is unlike anything else that we serve throughout the year because it plays on some of the flavors that you might find in something like Shaw, which is available year-round, or in something like French Roast, which is a really bold coffee. And the reason that we think that that is the best thing for this time of year is we want something that will be great to share with your family on Christmas morning.
So what exactly does cheerful taste like?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that we always work on as a roasting team is how do we interpret feelings into flavors? Because it's not enough to say, well, this coffee tastes like cherry, because we actually want you to experience date night with your partner and having a old-fashioned, right? We want that Luxardo cherry flavor, which we actually will feature probably in Cherry Blossom.
Amazing.
So when we talk about what does cheerful taste like, it's how does this coffee make you feel?
The roasters are the rock stars, and nobody ever sees them. They're sort of secluded here in Ivy City, and everybody knows their barista, but the roasting team, sort of the unsung heroes of creating the coffee blends. How many different attempts did you try to create the holiday blend?
Well, I mean, the answer is dozens.
Dozens?
Right. So one of the steps in the blending process is called wet blending. And what that allows you to do, it's almost like if you've ever been cooking and you've done all your mise en place, and then
There's
somebody
a whole
comes
blog post
behind.
on that coming out soon.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then you ever just kind of mix a few things together, and it's not really what you think the dish is going to be, but you're like, I wonder how that sauce tastes with that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what wet blending is. So it's the opportunity to just go wild, and everybody on the team goes around and makes their own blend. And then after a couple of minutes, we'll start talking about what we like. And one of the ways that you know that an ingredient or that an origin is going to be in a blend is you run out of the coffee. So literally we got to the bottom of the bowl for Nicaraguan coffee.
Everybody's
there
like,
was no more Nicaraguan coffee in here. It was just grounds.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, cool. We got one coffee. We know it's going to be in
Lock
there.
it in.
Everybody agrees this is right.
Lock it in.
And then you keep going around the table. You keep going around the table. And eventually you start to dial in just to a couple. And that's where we start trying to actually roast them together, because every coffee kind of roasts a little bit differently. And you might have two things that are really, really good independently. They might be really, really good when you mix them together as a wet blend. Sometimes when you green blend them, which is what we do here in Ivy City when we make full-size roasts, sometimes they don't taste so good. And actually, Holiday Blend had that happen. where we had a wet blend that
you
we
thought
really
you
liked.
thought you had a winner.
We thought we had it. We cupped our green blend,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fine. It was good. It was
Not extraordinary.
Not extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And our standard here is
Real good?
extraordinary. Real good. And so then you go back and you figure out what we needed to do. And actually, it was funny.
What did you kick out? You kicked out the Columbia?
No, we actually, so the Columbia didn't make it past the wet blending.
Yeah.
But what we did was we dialed back the Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
But when we dialed back the Honduras,
It's too acidic?
the Honduras was too fermented.
Too fermented.
Like we needed
Yeah.
just a little bit of that fermentation flavor
Mm-hmm.
that you kind of get with a lot of holiday drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But it was overpowering in a green blend. And it was kind of funny. We were actually working on peppermint syrup. And so the team was in there bottling it. And they came out and they're still dressed in their jackets and booties.
Mm-hmm.
And we were drinking this coffee. And we all kind of looked at each other and we were like, this isn't it.
It's not right.
It's not actually
Yeah,
right.
well.
And so then we tweaked a couple ratios. We upped the amount of Kenya in there and we increased the amount of Nicaragua. Both of those offer like a really nice balanced acidity so that we could dial back the Honduras but still get that cheerful flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're serving.
So today we're cupping 4 different coffees.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're trying to do is taste the different components that go into making Holiday Blend.
And so when we talk about the blend, of course, it's lots of things mixing together. And so it's greater than the sum of its parts. And so each of these, when roasted together, should create that like bold, cheerful, spicy coffee that customers come to know and love. So in each of these bowls, we have a different coffee. Closest to me is Honduras. It's a really bright, nippy, natural coffee. Next to it is our Indonesian Trenggiling, which is like a classic Sumatran flavor. It's really herbal, it's really earthy, it really has that like intensity that is great in Emblem Espresso year round. And it's really good in Holiday Blend this year. And actually, when we started working on this blend, we started talking about it in July when Trip and I were in Indonesia.
Wow.
Looking at this crop.
So you went to this farm?
Yeah, so we actually went to this farm, we met this farmer. We met his daughter.
Wow.
She's like 2. She's really cute. And we started talking about like the different ways that we use this coffee. And Holiday Blend is not something that they serve in Indonesia usually. It's a Muslim majority country.
Yeah.
So Christmas is less of a big deal. But where we connected was really like that feeling of family and that excitement for just spending time with, you know, your loved ones, sharing coffee together. Next to you is Nicaragua. Nicaragua is something that we use throughout the year in lots of different coffees. It's really, really good as a dark roast. It like maintains its sweetness. And then the last thing is our Kenyan. So our Kenya is just a beautiful, like deep fruit flavor. It's another natural coffee. And I think it's the right cheerfulness that we need for this blend. We decided on these 4 after a extensive series of taste tests. So when we start any seasonal blend, it's a blank slate. We talk about what that season makes us think of, different foods and flavors and experiences. And where we got to were Honduras, Indonesia, Nicaragua, and Kenya. And then as we decided that those 4 were the right fit, we started playing around with different combinations. And every time you adjust one, it slightly changes the final result. And so where we ended up was a little bit more nuanced than where we started. And so we have more Indonesia, more Nicaragua, but the Kenya and the Honduras provide a really important part to keep it cheerful, keep it bright.
Well, I mean, seasonal blends are a fun challenge.
Yeah.
Every year you're trying to make a new blend that fits in with all the previous ones and what customers are expecting from the coffee.
Right.
So Holiday Blend, people want a bold dark roast. They want, you know, the flavor notes that pair nicely with sort of heavier foods. But you actually have some freedom in selecting the coffees,
right,
in trying new things. So for this year, what was that challenge like?
Well, I mean, every seasonal blend is both starting with a blank slate and then also knowing where you need to end up. And this year we turned 10. And so we wanted to really live up to that because we have customers who have spent a decade falling in love with Holiday Blend. And so we needed to capture their memory with entirely new coffees.
So the crazy thing is this is actually the 11th Holiday Blend because of how numbers work. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
Well,
21,
never mind.
22,
We
23,
actually
24.
we made it special and we didn't need to. We should have just phoned it in.
It's
11, 11 isn't
yeah,
a magic number.
Yeah, right. It's not quite.
Keeping that in there. I like those jokes.
Well, it's our 10th year,
right?
But the 11th holiday blend.
Yeah, but the challenge remains the same nonetheless. We are tackling this project with coffees that we didn't have last year. Because even coffee from the same farm, like our Nicaraguan coffee, we've been buying from Las Mercedes for over 8 years. But this year the coffee tasted just a little bit different, which is a really exciting and a really fun part of coffee blending and coffee roasting. But when you're talking about holiday blend, people know holiday blend, they remember holiday blend, they want to feel a certain way about holiday blend. And so we have to live up to that. And so there's that first impression when you go around the table and you look with the team and it's like, where are we at? And everybody's like, we don't got it. And that's when you kind of take a step back and you're like, okay, let's reset. Let's come back to this tomorrow. And you get some fresh samples on the table. And then the next time you kind of have it.
Were there any other coffees that you thought about including?
There were. We really liked our Colombian coffee. And what we found was when we roasted it with everything else, it was so overpowering. It was almost like a Colombian single origin, which is really good. And oftentimes that's what I'll roast when I'm just making coffee for myself, because I love it.
Yeah.
But that's not what holiday blend is. It didn't have that like cheerful, spicy flavor. It was just a really nice dark roast.
How dark is the blend?
So this blend is just a little bit lighter than French roast, but it's the second darkest blend that we do. So when you look...
So French roast is the darkest.
French roast is like as dark as you can get.
Okay.
That is super bold, super intense.
Then what's 1 in?
1 in is kind of like our Union Kitchen blend and Waypoint.
Okay. Waypoint, Union Kitchen.
Yep, and Holiday sits right in the middle.
In between those.
So year-round, Waypoint and French roast are the darkest, with French roast being like a significant amount darker. So and then Holiday slots in there.
If you're a hipster coffee snob, you should not drink this.
You probably shouldn't come to Compass at all.
That's right.
Why even start doing seasonal?
We always serve Cardinal Blend as our most popular medium roast. It's balanced. It's got notes of milk chocolate, toasted nuts. Customers love it. If you come in and you say, hey, could I just get a cup of coffee? The barista doesn't ask you any questions and just gives you a medium Cardinal. There's a whole other group of customers that is always interested in trying new coffees, exploring flavors. And we create the seasonal blends so that customers can explore all the different nuances in different coffees. So holiday blend is usually a darker blend. We want it to be bold. We want it to be intense. We want it to stand up to intense food flavors that come from sort of heavier wintry meals or things like that. When we get into the spring, we go for a more floral, fruity, lighter blend that sort of embodies that season. And similarly, autumn blend sort of is meant to pair with autumn. And, we try all sorts of different things with cold brew during the summer. And it's really about exploration.
Was holiday blend the first seasonal blend we ever did?
We actually did autumn blend, but very poorly because we'd only been open for about a month. So the first autumn blend, I think, was probably just a version of Cardinal.
Okay. So what is that balance of creating a seasonal blend that helps people explore, but isn't something we normally offer, but is still consistent with who we are?
It allows us to go outside of our core group of 9 blends and do something that's different every year. And it's always exciting. So, I had a lot of fun designing the holiday blend tin. And it's actually the first of the rebranded coffee. We redid the logo about 2 years ago. And originally I hired a design firm, fancy firm. They completely failed. And I went back into the archives and looked at all of the early sketches that I did for the Compass logo and actually found one that looks a lot like this. I showed it to Gabby yesterday. You saw in Lightroom. And me and Joel started working on iterations of this logo. Yeah, so we redid this logo, and the holiday blend is the first coffee that has the new logo. And in doing that, we wanted to switch from minimalist packaging. We came up with some really pretty austere designs. That was from a time, the hipster era.
Sure.
And this is a much more fun era. And so I wanted to put all of the fun things that people do during the holidays on the tin.
Yeah.
And there's, special things only in DC. We have the Georgetown Movie Theater, where there's a Christmas stroll and everybody goes shopping. We have all the row houses decorated for the holidays. We have, the cathedral, the sculpture garden with ice skating, all these really fun DC images, and just wanting to make it a very DC themed coffee.
Yeah.
So little vignettes, little stories of different people and how they celebrate the holidays.
Every year I send holiday tins to like college friends and different people I've known who I met in DC and maybe don't live here anymore. And the first year we did this new design, a few of my friends called me and they're like, this made me cry.
Wow.
It brought back those memories.
Amazing.
And I like
that
to
is
think
what we want.
I like to think it was the coffee. I think it was probably the tin.
It was the art. So holiday, or the first Christmas season, it was not great.
Right.
To be honest, I thought that people would come in and that the winter was going to be the busiest time of year.
Right,
for
that makes
coffee.
Sense. Hot coffee, it's cold outside.
It's cold
Everybody
outside.
wants coffee.
So we opened September 21st of 2014. And initially there was a big pop. Everybody was excited. But unfortunately, as the weather got colder, fewer and fewer customers came in. And I didn't know this. I mean, I really thought we were going to get busier and it was going to be great. And we call this time period now between Thanksgiving and the beginning of spring, the 100 Days of Pain. And the holiday blend is a way to bring some cheer to a very difficult time. And it's a nice distraction from the reality that business is just getting slower. People actually drink more coffee in the warmer months. People like to be outside, walking around, getting a cold brew with their friends. And turns out, no, hot coffee, you sell less.
Yeah. But in 2014, you
know that.
didn't know that. So you see fewer people coming in the door every day. When do you start to panic?
We had lots of weird ideas about things to make. And something that we tried back in 2014 was making our own marshmallows and then getting a little blowtorch and toasting the marshmallows on customers' drinks. Huge mistake. We had a jar sitting out on the counter filled with homemade marshmallows. They were fantastic, but it was such a pain in the ass to make the marshmallows. I mean, it's not that hard, but
every morning you're opening the cafe
exactly.
and it's like, I need to make more marshmallows.
Yeah, you're whipping all these eggs and sugar, and so it's a difficult thing to make marshmallows, and you're adding just a ton of complexity. And then you're adding them to hot chocolate, and then you're trying to get a blowtorch. We have a blowtorch. And you're trying to teach baristas how to torch the drinks without setting them on fire.
Right, because I imagine a paper cup, it's not that hard to blowtorch.
You can actually you can get on fire pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the other weird, unexpected thing was that we stored the marshmallows in a jar, and customers would just come up to the jar, open up the jar, take out a marshmallow, eat the marshmallow, and just go on with their day like nothing happened. And you'd be like,
I worked so hard. That's a part of a drink.
What are you doing? Like, yeah, that's a component that goes on the drink. We thought if we put it on the counter, people would see it.
Right, it's a homemade marshmallow.
And then they would order it, but that was completely not what happened. But there's all sorts of things like that, unexpected things that customers do. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
I mean, that's the best way to end things, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do this every day, and it's just fun to get to sit down and talk about a blend, because what brought us together is a shared love of coffee and a love of creating that experience to bring to other people.
I mean, my favorite thing about Holiday Blend is at the end of the day, it's just real good coffee. It brings people together, and it's such a nice time of year to spend time with friends, spend time with family. I've come to embrace that it's a slower time of year, and I try and take a step back. I try and look at the big picture, and the Holiday Blend is just an awesome opportunity to do that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, coffee is just a way to share an experience with your friends and family. And we are happy to be a part of that.
Cheers.
Cheers.